first of all, if we can just begin by just talking a little bit about you, where
Absolutely.
you grew up, what you do, about your family, those kind of things.
Sure. I'm a University of Missouri graduate. I got my undergrad in political science and my master's in public administration. And I've spent the last 9 years in the state capitol working on constituent services and policy. My husband actually teaches here at the University of Missouri at the vet school. And we are emergency foster parents here in Boone County. We've actually had 9 children in our home throughout the years. And we adopted our youngest daughter, Brianna.
Wow. So you know the campus a little bit then.
Yeah, absolutely.
You weren't lost getting here. Okay, so then I guess just kind of jumping into it, what experience do you have that makes you the best person to represent the 21st District?
Absolutely. I have 9 years of experience in constituent services and policy. I was the Director of Legislation for former Minority Leader Jeff Harris, and in that position I tracked and coordinated all legislation and amendments. In constituent services, I've been helping people attain health care, helping communities apply for grants. I've been doing constituent services for 9 years, and that's a part of the job that I think a lot of elected officials don't realize going into it. It's a very important part of the job.
Okay, and then from your perspective, what do you see as the biggest challenges or the biggest issues that are on people's minds in the district?
We have several issues that are facing the state of Missouri and the 21st District specifically. Increasing access to health care, supporting our public schools, and then creating jobs in Missouri that actually support Missouri families with health insurance, retirement benefits, and livable wages. Those are my top 3 priority issues. Another issue that's looming is transportation, and we are going to be faced with transportation crisis in the next year.
Also, I've never heard that one mentioned yet.
Well, because it's not a very fun one to talk about. With transportation, what we just voted on a couple years ago required the state of Missouri to bond everything. So now we're having to pay back those bonds. And the funding is dropping off at the same time. And so in order to continue new construction and road maintenance, we're going to have to figure out what to do. The taxpayers are not going to support another tax increase. It failed the last time with only 27% of the people voting for a tax increase. And taxpayers believe that they just voted for a fix a few years ago. And that puts legislators in a very difficult position. And so transportation is going to be probably the least talked about during campaign, but one of the most pressing issues we face this next year.
And that all has to do with gas prices too, people traveling less, right? Isn't
Oh,
that part
absolutely.
of that
Gas
problem?
prices definitely factor into it. When gas prices increase, it doesn't increase the amount per gallon that the state gets, but it is increasing what's coming out of people's pockets.
Okay, right. In your campaign, in what ways has running your campaign, if been out on the campaign trail, how has that reflected how you will represent the district if elected?
One of my priorities has been to be open and accessible. I am a staff member, so I am very policy heavy. So when somebody asks my position on something, I know what my position is, and I have researched the issue in other states and the state of Missouri because that's what I've been doing the last 9 years. But I think that what makes me different than other candidates is how open and accessible I am. I advertise with my cell phone number. I put my cell phone number on every piece of door knocking literature. I had a gentleman call me this morning at 8:30 this morning to find out my position on health care and public schools. So again, that constituent services is a priority of mine. People need to know where I am and what they can expect of me as their elected official.
I have to ask, because last election we had a candidate who also put his cell phone number out there. I'm wondering, will you change it after the election?
No.
Okay.
No, it will be my cell phone. I will be in the state capitol and ready to serve the individuals of the 21st District, yes.
Okay. And then you brought up the other candidates. So how do you differ from them?
There are several differences between my opponent and I. The first one is my support of public schools. My opponent has been a co-sponsor for the last 6 years of vouchers, and I do not believe that that is the fix for our public schools or for education in the state of Missouri. I believe we need to invest in policies that actually improve education, such as making sure that we retain our qualified teachers in the classroom. I will work to repeal ABCTE. I don't believe that you can learn to be a teacher online on a website. I believe it requires the hands-on experience. And I fully support people switching careers, whether it's a police officer who's decided to go back into the classroom, but we have an alternative certification in place, and I believe that's what we need to put our focus on. We also need to focus on smaller classrooms. Our teachers are expected to handle upwards of 30 students. Some are gifted, some have special needs. All of them have different learning styles. they can't give that one-on-one attention that differentiated education requires. We need smaller classrooms, which requires more teachers.
Okay. Is that in elementary too? 30?
Most of them are 26 to 27, but we have some at the middle schools that are actually split and have upwards of 50 with 2 teachers going at the same time.
Wow. So, if elected, what are some of the first few things or the major thing on your to-do list?
Increasing access to health care is my very first priority. We need to work to reverse the cuts from 2005. 180,000 people lost their health care. Another 300,000 had decreased in their benefits. We can't have a healthy economy in the state of Missouri unless we have healthy families. The very first bill that I will file is the Medical Red Tape Reduction Act. And what that does is streamline the billing and reimbursement so smaller providers can accept state assistance, because right now in my rural areas, it's not worth it for a small provider to accept state assistance. It also will allow patients to know exactly what they're paying for. At this point you get billed, you don't know what services you're being billed for, you don't know what your insurance is covering. It also will reduce fraud, waste, and abuse.
Do you see the healthcare problem getting worse, just looking at the economy, even what's happened just this week?
Oh, absolutely. We see gas prices every day when we drive by. If the inflation of gas prices was actually following what the inflation of our health care is, we'd be paying $15 a gallon of gas. But because you don't see those prices every day on a sign and by the road, we don't realize the inflation of health care. We're making it unaffordable for families. And what is happening is people are pushing off preventative care and ending up in the emergency room, and that costs all of us more, and it costs our insurance companies more too.
Okay, and then I just have one last thing. So part of the legislative process is a compromise and working together. So how would you do that? How would you work across the aisle to build a consensus?
Many people know that my husband is a very conservative Republican. I have a bipartisan household, and I will work very well in a bipartisan house. I have worked both in a bipartisan job for the Missouri Senate, and I've worked in the minority and the majority. So how you get things done is a bipartisan effort, regardless of whether you're in the minority party or the majority party. We need to work to push work back down to the committee level. And this isn't a very fun topic, so you don't hear me political stumping on it much. But what we've done is we've taken, instead of having 16 to 20 people sitting down at a table and working out a compromise, we push it through the committee level right up to the House floor. The House floor is where we have our political amendments, our gotcha amendments, and we don't work on policy anymore. If we move the work back down to the committee level, we can actually start to craft policies.
Okay, that sounds good. And is there anything else you want to add?
Sure, I would love to go ahead and add my cell phone there, like I said. If you have any questions on where I stand on an issue that's important to you, just give me a call on my cell phone. It's 573-239-0510, or check out my website, kellyschultzfor21st.com.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.